Welcome, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. My name is Ryan Graven. I'm the Vice President of Matrix Networks, and I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you all for joining this part one of our webinar series unveiling Zoom's latest offering.
Zoom brand is a great brand, right? But it's most recognized for Zoom meetings. So what I want to show you on this slide here is we are way, way, way more than just meetings today. We're doing things in all sorts of different areas. And one thing that happened during the pandemic was C-suites and IT leaders struggled to keep up with the change that they had to make to continue to function through the pandemic. As you know, most of the workforce went home. They had to buy all sorts of different point solutions to solve the problems that were at hand. So they made rash decisions, quick decisions, and now is the time that they're going back and really looking at those decisions they made and figuring out how, if they really need it, do they still fit? Are they hitting the mark? Or can we just consolidate these point solutions into a single platform? And that's where Zoom really shines. As we did a lot of stuff in the meeting space and webinar and rooms, but now we've added a lot of different products, and we're going to talk about that. And we've taken it and then bundled it and rebranded it as Zoom One. So let's get started here and see if we can show you something that you didn't know about Zoom. We saw the wheel at the beginning with all those different offerings that we have and how they competitively fit into the landscape. But we have so many, as Ryan mentioned earlier, and it's actually more into the 40 category now as far as different products that we have or solutions for the solve. We have to recreate the wheel, right? So now we created this, you might call it a game controller. Some people call it a peanut. Some people call it a racetrack. But we really broke it down into three specific categories: employee experience, customer experience, and then the core communications or collaborations tools that you're familiar with, right? And then in each of those categories, there's multiple different spaces as well. And then underpinning all that is our developer and ecosystem, which we won't go in today, but we have extensive amount of APIs. We have a Zoom marketplace with over 2,500 pre-built applications that integrate with Zoom that are at your disposal. So let's jump into the first thing, which, as we tell the Zoom story, right? We started out at a meeting platform. Our founder and CEO, Eric Yuan, he came from WebEx. He had a vision to make things simpler, more scalable, flexible, and more robust. He did the same thing with phone, which in 2019 we released a phone product, and then just now 2 years ago we released a contact center product. So if you're not completely aware, the whole kind of puzzle here is solving for time, right? That's the thing that we all have in common, right? We're all struggling to manage our time. And when you look at the Zoom platform and the workflow and work processes that we want you to live in the Zoom application to solve for, or embed Zoom's products into your applications or your workflows. Example would be Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Outlook, those types of things where you're not bouncing around. We refer to it as a toggle tax. So that's how we alleviate for that. So let's jump into the first piece of Zoom One, which is what is included in it, right? And then we'll talk about AI Companion, because AI Companion is a big deal that we just launched back in September. But all these things can be acquired in a single SKU, a single Zoom One bundle that gives you all these. So meetings you're familiar with. If you don't know of Zoom Team Chat, we've had that for a while. It's a persistent chat client. You think of Slack, you think of Teams. That's its functionality, but we've really developed and enhanced that product to compete with the likes of Slack. Then phone, we'll touch on that in a minute. Mail and calendaring is a big deal. We'll touch on that a little bit more. We just released our visitor management solution, which Mark showed in the demo. Scheduler is another one. That is our, if you're familiar with Calendly, it's a Calendly replacement. And then tools like Whiteboard. So, back in the day, I had a boss that anytime I went to ask him a question, first thing he did was jump out of his chair, and grabbed his dry eraser pen and started drawing on his whiteboard. So now you have that tool right at your fingertips that you can use in a meeting, out of a meeting, and share with other people internally and externally. Clips. Clips is a personal video editor. So if you want to convey something, but rather than typing it or sending an email, chat, you can record a video. So whether it's just to convey a message or for training purposes, you have your own little personal video editor right at your fingertips. Notes is a tool that, again, you can use in and out of a meeting that allows you to take notes on the fly. So instead of using Evernote or OneNote or some of those other ancillary tools, again, we're embedding the tools that you need directly into the Zoom platform. We talked about rooms. We'll see a whole separate presentation on rooms, workspace reservation in the spaces segment. But along with that is digital signage as well and visitor management. And then a whole nother topic would be events and webinars. But when you think about that, we're using the webinar session today. So one-to-many polished production. Events is a tool that, again, came out of the necessity of the pandemic. Was we can't go to Las Vegas, we can't go to Orlando anymore to do these big expos where there's thousands of people, hundreds of vendors. We came up with a tool that could do that virtually. That then, as things come back to reality or come back to live hosting, now we could do those in a hybrid format. So people can go to Las Vegas, some people can join remotely, and they can have the same experience. They can see the sponsors, they can meet the vendors, they can share information, contact information with the other participants. So really cool thing. And then, the customer experience we'll talk about in a separate webinar. And I mentioned the developers platform as well. So let's move on and jump right into the first big thing. If you don't know it, is Zoom Phone. I still do run into people that go, yeah, Zoom meetings, right? I go, no, we have a phone platform. It's been out since 2019. We've just, in less than 5 years, we've already deployed over 7 million seats. So the adoption rate, the success of this product is above any scale that we've seen before. And when you think about it, we talked about the time slide, right? Time is the underlying currency for everyone. Again, it's about ROI. So from a implementation to a adoption to an ongoing management, Zoom is your best option or your cheapest option when it comes to that most efficient. From a Zoom Phone perspective, we're global, right? We have PSTN, and what is that? That's telephone, that's dial tone in 47 different countries. And the other unique thing that we do, it's not a one-off or an a la carte thing, is we have what's called BYOC, or provider exchange, which is bring your own carrier. And provider exchange is similar to our competitor that has Operator Connect. It's a pre-built, you select your carrier and off you go. So if you have, whether you're in a contract with an existing vendor or maybe you're in a location that we can't support the dial tone in, you could bring your own dial tone and connect directly into Zoom. It's easy to deploy, it's easy to manage. If you're familiar, which most people already have the Zoom application installed, you just turn on the license, log out, log back in. Now you have a Zoom Phone. And then the scalability and the simplicity of the management doesn't take dedicated IT folks, right? So why do we talk about Zoom Phone? I've been doing phone for a long time, and I swore I would never do this, but Zoom Phone does everything you would expect a current modern day phone system to do, right? It has all the standard features. And I always say this, like we fit 99% of what businesses need, right? Do we have every feature? No. Does our competitor have a feature we have? Maybe. Do we have a feature they have? Probably. Or don't have? Probably, right? So, but we have all that standard stuff: auto attendance, voicemail, transfer, dial by name directories, SMS, recordings, transfers, all those things. We can even do video voicemail. So we have a few things because we're Zoom that the others don't. But full featured 24/7 phone system that you can adopt and then use with your Zoom platform. And of course, the other thing that I think we do a great job at is the ecosystem of devices. So, do people still use phones on their desk? Yes. Whether it's a physical phone on a knowledge worker's desk, or maybe it's a hallway phone or a lobby phone, there's all sorts of use cases. So we have desk phones, we have cordless phones or wireless phones. The use cases would be healthcare, retail, things like that. And then, of course, there's still overhead paging, door phones for entry, things like that. So you have to be able to integrate into some of those legacy systems, and we have the ability to do that with Zoom Phone. The other thing is integration. So I talked about earlier about being, embedded into business workflows and work processes. So we have to be able to do that as well, and we have a very robust set of integrations that are offered through our Zoom marketplace, as well as we have open APIs. If you have maybe a homegrown CRM or something like that, you can build the integrations for those. All right, let's get to the fun part of this. AI, right? We hear this conversation every day. Someone brings up artificial intelligence. So, if you've used Zoom for a while, we've been doing artificial intelligence in one form or fashion for a while. You think about virtual backgrounds, you think about noise suppression, background noise suppression, those types of things, filters, avatars. We've had that functionality for a while, but now we're talking about doing more with that, right? So natural language processing, and then we got generative AI, which is the big talk today, being able to really have a virtual assistant. And these are the stats. I mean, there's a lot of money that's going to be spent in the adoption that's going to happen in the next couple of years with this. So, what's our market insights, or the market insights of our customers and our partners? Really, how do I afford it? What's this going to cost me, right? If you look at our competitors, Microsoft Copilot and you got Google Duet, those are both additional add-ons at about $30 a user. The big thing to keep in mind here, Zoom is adding this feature and functionality to every paid license at no additional cost. So that's a big deal. Basically, you're getting a virtual assistant for free, right? So the other thing is, what are the results? Large language models. There's a bunch of different large language models out there. What do I choose? Zoom's going to solve for this, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. We're going to do what's called a federated approach, right? Adoption. How do I get people to use this? Well, again, if it's embedded right into the platform, across the platform, in every facet of the platform, it becomes easily adopted, and people actually start seeing the benefits of it right out of the gate. Is it complex? No, it's on the Zoom platform. So again, that simple administrative interface as well as intuitive user interface. Data privacy and security. This is probably the biggest thing that comes up. Again, it goes back to our federated approach, is we're not using any customer data to train any of these models. We're not sharing any PII with any of these large language models to have them train it. So we're doing it in a very responsible manner to assure that everything that we do is within the compliance and security strategies of the company, as well as by default, it is turned off, right? So you have to turn it on. You can turn it on at the account level. You can turn it on by groups. You can turn it on at the user level. So very flexible and granular tools to control how it's set up. So let's look at the overview. What is AI Companion? What are these tools going to do for us? So we kind of break them down into these categories. Summarization, right? I can take something, whether it's a chat thread, an email, a meeting, and get a summary. So I don't have to go back and listen to the whole thing or read every thread in a chat or read every line of an email, right? Content creation. This is where the generative AI piece comes in. I can now give a set of instructions and have generative AI create an email, create a whiteboard, create a email. So all those types of things are there and available. Information and retrieval. So this is a big one to me because I run into this all the time. I know I saw this piece of information somewhere, but was it in a chat? Was it in an email? Was it in a meeting? Was it in OneDrive? Where would it be? Now, today, most of the time, you spend quite a bit of time searching around trying to find it. Well, now, if you had a tool that you could search one place and it goes out to your all your disparate applications, including Zoom, and finds what you're looking for. How much time in that one aspect would you save, right? And then task completion, right? Being prompted to create a meeting, next steps, follow-ups, things like that. And then last but not least, coaching and learning, getting feedback. So like right now, it'd be great to know, am I talking too fast? Am I using too many filler words? So that functionality, be able to record and create clips to give feedback to new hires, right? So those tools are all being embedded into what we're calling AI Companion. So let's see a little glimpse into that, a day in a life with AI Companion now turned on. All right, awesome. So we saw a lot of cool stuff right there. So let's touch on what I mentioned before, the federated approach. What does that mean? It means that Zoom is going to have a basically it's a gateway that depending on what you're trying to do within the Zoom platform, whether it's a summarization in chat or a reply or a whiteboard creation, you will have the ability, or Zoom will look at that and go, okay, today we think OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, any of those would be the best one. And then we have BAA agreements with all those to control how they handle the information that we're sending them. And again, you also can control whether the different features are turned on or not. The other great part about this is that you can leverage in the future, you can leverage different AI models, right? Large language models. So examples, say maybe healthcare, retail, something to that effect, financial, that has a very stringent or narrow large language model they want to use. We'll be able to plug those into our platform and take advantage of those as well. So it's a ever changing landscape with these AI models, large language models. And as new players come onto the scene, we want to be able to pivot and take advantage of those. And with the federated approach, we'll be able to do that. I talked about the responsible approach already, so I won't dive into that anymore. We have all sorts of information on our website, public facing, that you can access to if you want to dig into the details of our security and compliance policies. And then the empowering piece, it's all there at your fingertips. Use it, don't use it. It's included in every paid license. So we talked about that already. I'm not going to dig into that anymore. So let's start looking at, we saw a quick preview in that video of, the functionality, but let's kind of look at how we can use it in some use cases, right? So I talked about the coaching piece of it. So now when I'm in a meeting, not only am I getting the live transcription on the right-hand side, and you can see the next steps, but I'm also getting my personal coach, and you can see the different criteria: talk to listen ratio. Am I pausing? Am I allowing other people to speak? Longest spiel, am I just going on a rant and not taking a breath and letting other people speak? My talk speed, am I talking way too fast? Am I talking way too slow? My patience, filler words, those types of things. How am I doing? So I can get that real-time feedback right there in there. And then the summaries. So summaries are a great thing. We spend a lot of time in meetings. We go on vacation. We come back. So you just think about at the end of a meeting getting a summary, but also we can ask questions in a meeting. So we've all been there where we've entered a meeting 15 minutes late and we interrupt and say, "Hey, catch me up." Well, that's something of the past. You don't need to do that anymore. You can say, ask a question, catch me up to your AI companion, and it'll give you everything, a summary of everything that's taken place. You can ask questions like, was my name mentioned? Was this topic mentioned? And it'll give you a response back based on the conversation that's taken place so far. And then the other big deal, and I actually used this the other day with a customer. It's a attorney's firm, and they deal with a lot of clients that speak other languages, right? So rather than bringing in an interpreter and having to have somebody translate real time, which is always difficult, they're able to allow that client to speak in their native language. I can listen in my native language or speak in my native language, and AI does all the translations for you. So they were speaking in Arabic. I was reading the translated captions in English. I was speaking in English, and they were reading the translated captions in Arabic. And the cool thing, the feedback we got at the end of it was this was just a test for a big meeting they were having, but the microphones, the overhead microphones that they had for this meeting room were turned way down, and the guy in the room, we could barely hear him. So I was like, "Hey, you should probably get those mics adjusted." And I said, "Mics." Well, the Arabic speaking gentleman came back and said, "It's funny, this thing works pretty darn good because when you said mic, it translated it to the Arabic meaning microphone. So it didn't say mic, M-I-K-E. It took it as microphone because of the context of the conversation that was in place." So very cool stuff. So again, we could do that translated captions. We can do that for meetings as well. So you can ask your questions in a foreign language, even though the meeting's happening in English. So that's cool stuff. We talked about this, the meeting summary, right? So you can get it emailed to you. You can get it dumped into a chat channel as well. And continuous meeting chat is a whole nother story. Is you could have, you schedule a meeting, you can start a conversation before the meeting, during the meeting, and then have that chat continue on after the meeting, which is a great feature. So let's talk about some of the things that are newer to Zoom as far as what we're doing with thread summaries and chat compose and then email. We haven't even talked about email really at all. But here you can see examples of, let's just say I came back from vacation. I got a big thread of email. It's important. I know I need to read it, but I don't have time to read every single line. So I just ask team chat, or you can do this in email as well, is to give me a summary. Also, we'll have this feature coming to SMS on the phone side. So be able to get a thread summary or a chat summary in those, all three of those, email, chat, and SMS. And then I can create a response to that. So then I can have AI, team chat, email, compose, either look at it and give me a generative AI response based on the context of the thread, or I can compose one from scratch and just give a prompt, right? All these chat GPT, all these other ones, it's all about your prompting, right? So I give it a set of prompts or directions and then let it create the message back. And you can see here things like make it longer, make it shorter, or the other big one is change the tonality. So do I want it professional? Do I want it casual? Do I want it sarcastic? Those types of things. Do I want it joking? So you have the option to do that as well. The last one I want to touch on this slide here is the email part. So Zoom has email and calendaring, and we'll talk about that. So part of email and calendaring is I can ingest O365. I can ingest Google Calendar, not calendar, Google Mail. Sorry, Google Mail. Google Workspace customers can ingest Google Mail, as well as we can host your email domain. So just think of a customer, if you still have the old Linux server sitting in a closet or a data center, and you're still doing that, which I just ran into that the other day. They're literally bringing their domain and we're going to host it. They're not using O365 for their email. They're not using Google Workspace for their email. They're still we're hosting their email on their own, right? So the other thing that's cool, once you have that, you're using mail in there, you can schedule meetings right from team chat. So when I'm in a meeting, or I should say when I'm in a chat and I start typing, hey, we should get back together and talk about this more tomorrow, AI is going to hear that and go, do you want to create a calendar invite? Yes. You click it, it opens up your calendar, and then you just put in the details of the time, the date, and it's already filled out based on the members of the chat channel or one to one. It's already going to fill out the participants, and you can add or delete whoever you need to. So, again, another time saving feature. All right. So I touched on this already. It's the Zoom mail and calendar part. So now this is just part of the Zoom One bundle, right? So you can use it or not use it, but the benefits of using it are the fact that you get these seamless workflows. Scheduling a meeting, you could take an email and share it to chat, right? Which is a cool feature. So a lot of times you'll get an email. Maybe you're working on a project. Instead of copy and pasting, you can just say share it. You enter the channel or participants that you want to share it with, and off it goes. So very useful tool, even if you want to still use your standard mail client outside of this. So with mail and calendaring, you get another new product or feature that we've added, which is Zoom Scheduler. So if you're familiar with Calendly, a lot of us pay extra for Calendly to help our customers, our partners, our colleagues schedule our time. So rather than having that back and forth of when are you available, send me a couple times, oh wait, those times already got booked up, you can just literally have a link that shows your calendar. There's a lot of different ways to create it. You can see one-to-one, one-to-many, share multiple calendars. So it's a classroom setup, so you can have 10 available spots for that time slot, things like that. So that, again, is just another feature included in the Zoom One bundle. Notes. So we all have our favorite notes, whether it's Evernote, OneNote, that we use. Well, Zoom now has its own notes product that, again, just comes with Zoom One. So it looks very familiar, very much Google Docs looking, same type of structure, very similar sharing features. I can be an editor, I can be a commenter, that type of thing. But the cool part about it is I can use this whether I'm in a meeting or not. So I could just have it as my standard place to keep my notes, all within the Zoom platform instead of going out to a third-party application. Or I can also have it turned on in meetings. So now the transcription, my notes that I'm taking as it goes on, I can choose how I want to do this, what works best for me. I'm not very good at taking notes, so I just let transcription do its thing. I'll save it as a note. I'll modify it as I need it and share it with who I want to. And then the last kind of piece that I think is cool, because a lot of us are visual learners, right? So having a tool that is persistent, whether you're in a meeting or out of a meeting, you're internal to the company or external to the company, to share ideas in a visual format is really cool. So Zoom Whiteboard, obviously it's got AI built into it too. So content generation, I can put prompting into it. We'll show this in a little bit and get it to generate templates for me. This is the other one because I am really bad at drawing. So I couldn't make a circle or a good square to save my life. Again, AI can correct those for you. So you create the shapes, it changes them for you. Zoom Clips. So I touched on this earlier on. This is just another feature of Zoom One bundles that you'll get. And it's pretty cool if you want to use it for training purposes, to share ideas, convey things. It's very good because you just pull it up, you do your recording, you do your editing, and boom, off you go. All right, so let's jump into a little demo here real quick. We got 10 minutes. So first up is Whiteboard. And you can see here, you have all your standard stuff. You can see all the whiteboards, recent ones, my whiteboards, shared whiteboards. But I could do things like create projects, right? So I'm going to create this project, and in here I could have multiple whiteboards. So I'm going to just create a new whiteboard. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to go to AI companion here, and I'm going to say uh, new defensive strategy. Did I spell that right? And so you get a choice here of how you want to do it. Do you want to be sticky notes? Do you want to be a table? Do you want to be a mind map? So let's go ahead and make it a mind map because that looks pretty crazy. So let's go. It goes out. The wheel starts spinning. And there it goes. It created a mind map. So I have all these things: objective, improve overall team defense, reproduce opponent scoring or reduce opponent scoring, increase turnovers, yada yada yada. So there's all these different things, and you have these different tools over here. So here's the other one I was talking about. So I can do the magic pen, right? So now I can draw some squares. And it's gonna fit. Oh, I thought that was a triangle. It was so bad, right? So let's try that again. There we go. Rectangle, circle. Right, so I have these tools here. I also have mind maps I can create. So you think about Kanban, which, Monday is the one that comes to mind for me. So you're doing project management. You want to create something there that you can fill in the progress of a project you're working on. You can do that there. You got cards, you got charts, you can embed content. So all that is here, and as well as we've pre-built a ton of templates for you based on different categories, right? So that's all there. That's the whiteboard, again, included in the Zoom One bundle. And then you can go up here and you can see all the different things that we have now. Team chat was the other one. If you're using Slack, I really think you should take a look because you're paying money for that. We have a Slack migration tool now that you can take advantage of. But real quick on this, if you're at mentioned, if somebody said at Scott, that would show up here. I don't have to go digging through all these different channels to find it. If you have a missed call, you'll see it here. Again, contact request, because this can be used internally and externally. This is a cool feature now. We have drafts and sent and scheduled. So I can see those in one place now rather than having, again, scroll through the list of DMs and channels. I can see right here. I got one scheduled message here. I got some from or sent messages from yesterday. Scheduled message here. I could change it if I want to. Copy it, edit the time, edit the message, send now, as well as some draft. I can see the drafts, things that I didn't finish typing yet, and send. So those are all there. The other cool thing that I want to mention is playing nice in the sandbox. So there's a lot of O365 shops out there, Microsoft shops. And we're not going to displace all those. We're not going to ask you to displace those. But we do think that Zoom fits into the ecosystem very well. And we have plugins that plug into Teams. We have direct routing. We have the Rooms integration, which you'll see when we do the spaces. But we also have here in chat where you can use SharePoint or Google Drive as your file repository. So if I go into here, I have my SharePoint test. If I want to share a file, I now have access to all the standard things that you would see if I was a Microsoft O365 user, right? As well as we integrate with the standards Dropbox, Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive, Box, and others. So you can do it a la carte. You can do the full integration. We do both ways if you're a Google Workspace shop or a Microsoft shop. So those are the cool tools there to use. And then last but not least, you saw this. Mark ran through it for Morella. Zoom Room. So just reimagining that office. Think about all the things. The virtual kiosk. Most offices that I go to today for meetings don't have a dedicated person at the front desk. So how do you solve for that? Again, that visitor management. How do you solve for when guests come to the office? How do I solve for sharing of desks when workers come to the office? Zoom solves for that, right? Digital signage. How do I get the information, corporate information, passed along through the office or in a retail space? Marketing information. Digital signage included with every Zoom Room license. So all this feature set is there with the spaces functionality. And that's what we say. So, everybody thinks that we used to call it Zoom Rooms, right? Now we changed it to spaces because there's so much more to it. So when you think of a Zoom Room license, just in its traditional shared workspace setup, it really is a single license that allows you to configure conference rooms for any type of scenario. We have a partnership with AMC Theaters where you can go to an AMC theater and actually use it for a meeting, and they're using the Zoom Room functionality to do that. Classrooms, theaters, boardrooms, huddle rooms, any of those scenarios, just depends on what equipment you put in. A Zoom Room license will solve for that. I talked a little bit about playing nice in the sandbox. So we have native integration now with Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and WebEx. So you can do a one-touch join with calendar integration, or you can literally walk up to the controller, press the button, enter the meeting credentials, and add those. The GoToMeeting, BlueJeans, and Skype for Business can be done as well. They just require some third-party software. We touched on this, the workspace reservation experience. You guys will see this in full function when we do the Spaces webinar, so I won't spend a lot of time on that. But this is a really cool feature to solve for that really a lot of companies went to a third-party point solution that you can now run on the Zoom platform. We talked about visitor management as well. So just so you understand that, that's the ability to invite guests to your office. They answer a series of questions, upload a picture, show up the day of the appointment, print out a badge, and alert the person that they're meeting. So I'll close out with this. What is the Zoom One bundle? So they come in a couple different flavors based on the size of your organization, right? So and then what they come with. So the starting point is the Zoom One Pro, which is 100 meeting licenses, the team chat, productivity, all those other things we discussed. A little bit smaller storage capacity, and then you get up into the Zoom One Business and Business Plus, which then includes phone, and you can see the things go up. Unlimited whiteboards, 300 meeting participants, 10 gig of storage. And then you get into the enterprise solutions that really starting to layer in even more. You can see webinar starts to come with it, workspace reservation starts to come with it. And then when you get into the Plus and Premium, we start adding some of the additional phone licensing, which is a power pack that gives you some what I call contact center light features, common area phone licenses, and then things like that, as well as we start adding in rooms and conference room connectors, which conference room connector is a way to repurpose your legacy H323 and SIP devices in a conference room. So all this feature set for whatever your needs are, you'd get the appropriate bundle and you'd be off and running. And with that, I thank you for attending. I will hand this back off to Ryan with about 4 minutes to spare.